So what is a demonstration? Is it A, showing how to ride a bike, or B, describing a bike? Is it A, showing how to bake a cake, or B, convincing someone to have dessert? Is it A, playing the guitar, or B, persuading someone to buy a guitar? We've probably all seen demonstrations, and if you answered A to all those, well then you've got a demonstration. Some kind of demonstrations that I've seen are how to use a machine like a vacuum, an ATM, how to drive a car, how to wash a car, how to make a dessert or an appetizer or a main meal, some kind of food, how to change a tire, how to use a VCR, how to program a VCR, how to clean windows, how to make sails, how to make popcorn, how to do origami, how to do sign language, how to peel a mango, how to make sushi, how to make vegetable decorations, how to make a knot, how to play a card game, how to make a smoothie, how to diaper a baby, how to fill in a certain form or an application. So a demonstration is showing how to do something. So if you answered A to all those questions, you were picking demonstrations. Now, how do you pick a topic for a demonstration? Sometimes you're given a topic to speak on, but if you need to pick something, you want to pick something you know how to do well and that is appropriate for your audience. Don't try to demonstrate how to pop popcorn with a popcorn maker you've never used. By the way, how many types of speeches are there? Here are some. There's extemporaneous speaking. In this kind of a speech, you've had a little time to prepare, but you're pretty much speaking off the cuff. There's impromptu speaking. Surprise! Someone asks you to speak and you've had no preparation. There's demonstration speaking, which is what we're talking about now. You're showing someone how to do something. It's really a teaching speech. There's persuasive speaking. That's when you're trying to convince somebody to do something. There's an informative speech. That's a speech with just the facts, no opinions. And then there's after dinner speaking. And that's an amusing speech. Now, some of my students say that there are only two kinds of speeches, the good ones and the bad ones. A teacher once told me that the audience is like a pack of matches, and it's your job to light them with your enthusiasm and energy. So let's start with demonstration speaking. Let's think about doing a 4 to 6 minute demonstration speech. How do we do it? Well, we're going to need to outline first. How many parts to a speech? Does anybody know how many parts to a speech? There's the beginning, the middle, and the end, or as we call it, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. In the introduction, you don't want to start with, oh, my name is, and you don't want to start with, hello, how are you, how's everything going? You want to knock the socks off your audience. You really want to get their attention. You want to have an appropriate attention getter. You want to figure out some way to really get their attention. Perhaps a relevant story. For instance, if you're going to give a speech on how to use a blender, maybe you have a very funny blender story. An appropriate joke. If you're going to be giving a speech on popping popcorn, don't have a joke about using a VCR. You want an appropriate joke, something that will really get their attention. Perhaps a startling fact or a statistic, something very startling. Or perhaps just something every day, something like 9 out of 10 people love fruit smoothies if you're going to be giving a speech on making a fruit smoothie. Something that will get their attention. A line from a poem, a song. For instance, if you were giving a speech on how to get around San Francisco, maybe you could start off your speech by singing, I left my heart in San Francisco. That is, if you're a good singer. Or maybe a saying or a proverb. Another way to start a speech that really gets people's attention are very large visual aids. If you're going to give a speech on how to diaper a baby, perhaps huge pictures of cute, happy babies in diapers. Another way to gain an audience's attention, questions. One or more questions. Something very interesting, and always a question for that person who's sitting in your audience who, when you ask it and everybody else says yes, there's always that one person who says no. So think about another question that you can ask to get even the no person involved in your speech. For instance, if I was to give a speech on perhaps chopping onions, I might ask a few questions like, do you cry every time you chop onions? And I know that there's someone sitting out there who's going, I never cry. So what do I want to say? Do you know someone who cries when they chop onions? Would you like to learn how not to cry? Now, the second thing you want to do after you ask a few questions or gain the audience's attention with a story or whatever you're going to use, you want to introduce the topic to your audience. And you want to be sure to include those people who might not like your topic. If your speech is about making a chocolate cake, what about people who don't like chocolate? Maybe they can make this cake as a gift for someone they know or someone they love who likes chocolate. Going back to my onion speech, I could say maybe that onions are used in so many dishes. Even if you don't like onions, you might need to use them in preparation for a dish for someone else. Now, in the introduction of a speech, you also want to include the purpose of your speech. We call it the thesis sentence. And I have to tell you that this is one of the most important sentences in the speech. I have to tell you that there was someone who once said, when giving a speech, you want to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And here you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. Today we'll learn how to chop an onion without crying. So remember the thesis sentence. Now the next part of the speech is called the body. And in the body of a demonstration speech, you want to include information about the history and or the importance of what you're talking about. You want to talk about the facts that support the purpose, or examples, benefits. For instance, I might want to, if I'm giving my onion speech, I want to talk about how onions have been around for a very long time. I might want to give a bit about the history of onions and how they've been used in cooking. I could say they're nutritious and flavorful, and they've been included in many recipes. They're invaluable in cooking. Now, when you're giving the body of the speech, remember, this is a demonstration speech. We're going to be showing how to do it step by step. But you also want to tell a little about the history and the importance. You can either do it first, or if you give a demonstration where there's a lot of time in between, where you're doing something and you don't have much time, you have some opportunity to talk to the audience, well, you could do it during the demonstration, or you could do it after the demonstration. It depends on what you're demonstrating. Remember, the demonstration, it's a step-by-step approach. It's very easy to understand, and it's engaging. You want to get everyone involved if you can. For instance, if I'm going to give that speech about the onion, my onion's small, I want to get everybody up around the table so they can see what I'm going to do. So if I am giving this speech about the onion, I want to make it step by step. This is a speech about cutting an onion and not crying. So here's my onion, I've got the board, I've got the knife. What I want to do is I want to, step one, cut the top off. So I cut the top off. The step two is to turn it upside down. The cut side is always down towards the board. That helps you not to cry. And then you want to cut it from root to top in half. That's step three. Remember, you want to make this simple. You want to go step by step. You don't want to go step 1, 2, and then go to step 6. Step 4, you lay the two halves down, remembering that the cut side is always down towards the board. Then step 5, you peel back the outside. Step 6, you take the knife and you make 3 horizontal cuts on each side going towards the root. And step 7, you cross-cut your onion into small pieces and voila, no crying. Now, it's a very good idea during your demonstration to get people involved. This is a teaching speech. You want to make sure that everybody who's seen your demonstration will be able to do what you are doing. Perhaps you can give out boards and onions and knives to everybody. If that's impossible, put people in small groups and maybe have one board and onion for a group of people. If that's impossible, have a volunteer come up to help you, or at least get somebody to taste it. Get your audience involved. The more you get them involved, the more they will learn how to do what you're demonstrating. Now, the third part of giving a speech is called the conclusion. And you want to make sure that you give no new information in the conclusion. First, you want to restate your purpose or thesis. So we learned how to chop an onion without tears. After you restate your purpose or thesis, you want to recap the demonstration. You want to briefly tell them what you just told them. So there are 7 easy steps, including cutting it in half, making sure the cut side is always toward the board, and making horizontal cuts towards the root. And then you want to leave your audience with a concluding statement. Leave them with something to remember. So the next time you're fixing a special dish and you need to include chopped onions, don't cry. Chop it without tears. So, what is the outline for a demonstration speech? First of all, we have an introduction. And in the introduction, we have an attention getter. We're going to get the audience involved. We're going to introduce the topic to them. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to tell them your thesis sentence or the purpose. In the body of a speech, you want to make sure in this demonstration speech that you tell a little bit about the history and the importance, the benefits. And you want to demonstrate, getting everybody involved if you can. Make sure your demonstration is step by step and easy to understand. And then it goes in order. And then, last but not least, without adding any new information, what you want to do is that you want to make a conclusion. You want to restate your thesis sentence or your purpose sentence. And then secondly, you want to recap just a little bit briefly your demonstration. And last but not least, you want to make a concluding statement. Now, I often divide my class into groups. I have one person as the introduction, another person is the body, and another is the conclusion. And I put them in small groups, and I give them fun, easy topics to work on, and they work and work and work, and then they do group speeches. And what's really nice is that they get the opportunity to speak with other people, and they learn how not to upstage one another. And that's a good exercise that you can do. If you feel like you're ready to do one by yourself, good for you. I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts for not just public speaking, but also for demonstration speaking, especially in demonstration speaking. Use a step-by-step approach. Keep it simple and easy to understand. Don't rush it. Don't go too slow, but go point by point, step by step. Make it very easy to understand. Get the audience involved. Perhaps get them to taste or test, have volunteers, or have them do it with you. Use big enough visual aids. If you show a picture that's only this big, that is too small. You want to make sure that your visual aids are huge. And if you have a lot of pictures that you want to show, don't pass them around. You want to have big enough pictures for everybody to see. If you pass them around, people will look at the pictures rather than listen to your message. When using a machine, make sure it's not too noisy and that you know how to use it. Practice. Keep it short and sweet. Don't make it too long and complicated. Be interesting, be enthusiastic. Don't bore your audience. And if necessary, if you need to use papers, if you have to pass out papers, pass them out at the end. If you do so in the beginning, everyone will read them rather than listen to you. If you're using a visual aid that has words written on it, keep the words short and simple. If you have a bunch of words written on a big visual aid, you don't want to be reading it word for word. Your audience can probably read it faster and they'll get bored. So if you're going to use something that has words on it, just pick key words and speak around it. An important thing is to practice. And how do you practice? Well, it's better to practice from an outline form rather than memorizing or reading. When you make your outline, put it in sentence, one sentence for each item. And then practice from that. If you write out a whole speech and memorize, what will happen is that if you forget one word, you might be through. Sometimes you forget one word and you can't remember where else to go. And if you're reading it, if you have a speech in your hand and you're reading it, this is a barrier to good eye contact with your audience. What you want to do is you want to make a sentence outline and practice from the sentence. Practice embellishing the sentences. Practice aloud. When I'm making a speech, if I'm developing a speech, let's say, I want to make sure that I start with my thesis sentence first. What's the purpose? What am I going to say first? And then from my thesis sentence, then I develop my demonstration and my benefits and my history and importance. And then from there, I develop my introduction and conclusion. And I make a sentence outline and I practice out loud. If you practice all the time in your mind, what will happen is that when the words actually come out, they might not sound the same. So make sure that you practice out loud. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to get some practice with doing demonstration speaking. I want you to take a look at the Learn Oral Communication Quickly book, and I want you to do up to page 12 in chapter 2, and then come on back for a word about introductions and toast making. Now a word about introductions. Many times we are called upon to introduce a speaker. Ask yourself some questions. What kind of person is he or she? What is the speaker's background? Remember to make it short, sweet, and believable. Don't oversell the speaker. What is important about the person? What is important? What is he or she saying? Maybe a short anecdote about him or her. What is the speaker's background? But remember to keep it short. Perhaps mention some things that were done in the past by the speaker. Tell a little about the topic without giving it away. What is he or she known for? How do you feel about the speaker? Remember in introducing to keep it short, sweet, and interesting, and remember to prepare. Make it apropos to the situation. For instance, rather than saying, "Here's the world's greatest computer teacher," which is pretty hard to live up to, how about, "Many years ago, I was introduced to someone who has helped to change my life. With a doctorate in sports psychology from the United States International University, 25 years of business teaching experience, years of experience helping others as a mentor teacher, and numerous awards and trophies for her winnings in triathlon sports events. We are so lucky to have with us today Dr. Sherry Newsham. Please give a warm welcome for my distinguished colleague who will talk with us today about the benefits of exercise. It's better to be prepared with an introduction than to wing it. And the same is true about toast making. Keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it interesting. Perhaps prepare a personal anecdote that's nice or funny or philosophical. Have it on the tip of your tongue. Make it apropos to the situation. When they give you that wine glass, you might want to say something like, "May this day be the beginning of a lifetime of continued happiness together. Congratulations to the newlyweds." In informal situations, there are always toasts like these. To your health, to a lifetime of joy. May everything always go your way. May you always have the time to enjoy the best in life. It's nice to prepare a toast, but sometimes toasts are impromptu. So if you practice whenever you can have a toast on the tip of your tongue for any occasion. So have fun practicing toast making, and what you might want to do is finish up Chapter 2, because in Chapter 2 we have some exercises for toast making and introductions, and you can also do the outline form for the demonstration speech, and then come on back for Video 3. We'll be talking about persuasion, answering questions, and accepting awards.